Canada continues to strike back against the despicable Trump regime and its agents in the United States and in Canada, like that despicable ambassador Pete Hoekstra, who continues to attack the sovereignty of Canada every day. Let me show you what went down as Pete Hoekstra, that vile thing in Canada, beclowned himself up there yet again, and the people of Canada, they're just beyond furious at this point, but they see weakness when it comes to Hoekstra. They see weakness when it comes to this Trump regime. Let me show you what went down. First, I want to give a hat tip to Mark Miller, Canada's Identity and Culture Minister, because his speech went under the radar. Let me just show you what he said about Canada. It was amazing on Canada Day. Then I want to show you how Pete Hoekstra was responding to the pride in Canada on Canada Day. Also, pride itself, and to see Prime Minister Mark Carney out there beloved by the people. One of the things I love too about Carney's Canada Day speech is when he recognized how hot it was and made sure everybody was hydrated and safe. It's the small things as well that makes Canada such a big, great nation, and how Donald Trump has reduced what America can and should be. First, let me show you over here, Miller. Here's what he had to say about Canada's never been a loud nation, but do not mistake our mild manner for weakness. We kneel to nobody, Donald Trump. Here, play this clip.
We've never been a loud nation. Well, actually, we have, like during Sunday's goal by Stephen Eustachio. That was loud. But let no one mistake our mild manner for weakness. We kneel for nobody.
And here was his kind of final call to action about how from all these different areas of Canada, our cultures, our diversity is our strength. I'm going to show you this, and let me show you this Pete Hoekstra guy just absolutely flail. And as you know, Hoekstra has attacked the MeidasTouch network over and over again. He wrote to Charlie Angus, who leads Meidas Canada, and Angus is like, Hoekstra, go on Meidas Canada, but Hoekstra's too scared to go on Meidas Canada. He's intimidated by Charlie Angus. He's a coward. Here, play this clip.
From celebration to Kluani, we live in the best country in the world.
From coast to coast to coast, Canadians carry their history with pride, rooted in our heritage, our cultures, our languages, and our deep connection to this land. In this vast country, Canada Day gives us a chance to come together and celebrate.
Happy Canada Day.
All right, let me show you what Hoekstra had to say. He did go on CBC. Again, he's too big of a coward to actually speak with Charlie Angus. Wouldn't you all want to see that? Why don't you all email Hoekstra and say that you're a coward for not wanting to meet Angus? Why don't you write to him over at the embassy in Canada and say that Charlie Angus wants to interview you, coward! Exclamation point. Here's what he had to say. He goes, I don't even want to analyze Canadians anymore. I don't even understand why you're upset with us. What did we do to you? What did we Americans do to you in Canada? Here, play this clip.
We talked about the 51st state. We talked about the tariffs, sectoral tariffs. You've said you don't understand why Canadians are upset with the U.S., that you just don't, you say, you know, we've banned some products where Canadians don't want to travel some to the U.S. anymore. And you said you don't get why that is. And do you really have no idea why there would be some Canadians who are upset with the American government right now?
I'm not going to try to analyze Canadians anymore. Okay. If they want to be mad about the sectoral tariffs, which are totally legitimate under CUSMA, an agreement that Canada agreed to, they can be mad at the United States. If they want to, be mad about a discussion and a point of view that came out of a discussion between your previous prime minister and the president of the United States, they can be mad at the United States of America. All I can say is, we're not mad at Canada. Okay. We don't ban Canadian products. We don't tell Americans don't travel to Canada because Canada is a terrible place and is not treating us well. We don't prohibit American companies from bidding, we don't prohibit Canadian companies from bidding on state contracts and those types of things. Americans, by and large, we say we love Canada. and our actions follow that up.
I mean, Americans largely say that, but the President of the United States certainly undercuts some of that messaging when he comes in and suggests that we should be part of the U.S. I would argue.
You can argue that, yeah.
You don't believe that, though.
I'm not going to argue with about. I'm not going to get into an argument about the 51st state. Let the prime minister and the president talk about that next week if they think that's the top and the most important thing for them to do.
Then Hoekstra is like, and how dare you come into our country and run political ads? Oh, how dare you literally quote Ronald Reagan, who was supposed to be the leader of the Republican Party's, vision, which, how dare you quote Reagan word for word on a video? That was rude. Don't you dare quote the person who, the Republicans claim they look after. That was dastardly. That was dastardly. Play this clip.
I mean, Canada would argue that we were in sort of unprecedented times. We felt as though we were bullied. There was talk about a 51st state.
You do not come into another country and run political ads against the president of the United States. We don't come into Canada and run political ads against the prime minister or a political party in Canada. That's not appropriate behavior.
Is the president coming to Canada saying you could be the 51st state and you probably should? That doesn't seem appropriate either.
Well, I think that discussion, as I've talked about the 51st state, if you want to talk about the 51st state, from my perspective, that's a discussion between the president and Mark Carney.
And you have said that you think it's a good discussion, that they should have.
I didn't say that should be a good discussion or a bad discussion. That's for the two of them to have, not for me to weigh in on that. I've got enough to do without worrying about a 51st state, and that's a decision that's made at the top levels of government.
I mean, you literally have the Trump regime engaged in like silent coups and actual coups all across the Western Hemisphere, but yet, don't you dare quote Ronald Reagan. He's obsessed with this. Here he talks some more about Doug Ford's ad. Watch this pathetic guy right here play this clip.
Foreign countries do not go into other countries and do political ads. Advocating for certain candidates, especially during an election season. Canada decided to do that in the United States. As far as I can tell, and I've talked to historians and all of that, it's probably the first time in American history that a foreign country came into the United States of America and tried to influence our politics and our policies through electioneering.
Hoekstra defends his 232 tariff, saying this is lawful. We create pretextual fake investigations on Canada, and then we adjudicate your violations, and then we tariff you, and then we destroy all of our economies because make America great again, eh? Here, play this clip.
And I mean, Canada, for its part, is doing the same thing, looking to diversify markets because it says, in part, that the U.S. is not the predictable trading partner that it once was. And to ensure that we have some predictability in our investments, that's what we're doing. So you're shaking your head.
I sometimes laugh at the predictable thing, okay? For the last 14 months, Canada has continued predictably to have 85% of its trade with the United States come across the border tariff-free. Predictably, the United States has carried the burden on defense of North America, as your prime minister says, not as America says, but your prime minister says, since the fall of the Berlin Wall. Predictability? That's 37 years.
Right. But tell the aluminum industry, the steel industry.
And the steps that we're taking under aluminum and steel and these types of things are allowable provisions, predictable actions if we believe there are unfair trade practices under USMCA CUSMA. Those are lawful within the framework of the agreement. Steps that somebody who believes they are being aggrieved through the process. Those are steps that are outlined that a country can take. Canada could take those steps. Mexico could take those steps. In this case, the United States has.
And then Hoekstra on Trump saying that the U.S. doesn't need Canada. Here's what he has to say. Play this clip.
In the past, though, we have heard President Trump say that he doesn't need Canada. But again, why would you submit a list of things you want if you don't need Canada? So how do we come to terms with both of those things said at the same time?
Well, the need is one thing. We have needs for lots of things. We have needs for critical minerals. We have needs for automobiles. We have needs for aluminum and those types of things. It's another thing to say that those needs have to be filled by a particular country, okay, that it has to be filled by Canada. We think on a lot of those things. Cars. Canada's a natural partner for us on automobiles. All right, we've got an integrated automobiles supply chain and those types of things. And so I think Canada could make a compelling case that for additional cars coming into the United States of America, Canada is the ideal supplier. It's better, they could make the case that it's maybe better than Mexico, maybe a better place to get cars from than Japan or South Korea. So sure, we have those needs, but it doesn't come down to say we need those particular items from a particular country.
Right. These are like predators, huh? He's like a true straight up predator. Here's what Prime Minister Carney had to say about the importance of trust right now. And he's clearly throwing shade at the U.S., who nobody trusts the U.S. under this despicable authoritarian Trump regime. Play this clip.
As was the case with the OPEC embargoes in the 1970s, the consequences of the oil crisis caused by the Iran war will be with us for a long time. It'll be much easier to restart oil and gas flows through the Straits of Hormuz than it will be to reestablish trust amongst global trading partners. In many respects, in this global disruption, trust has become the most valuable commodity. Our natural resources are a great gift, but the trust other countries place in Canada is something even more special. We've earned it, and we must keep earning it.
More from Carney right here, talking about the moment that we are in. Play this clip.
I've acted as Prime Minister to the best of my abilities to help put those divisions in the past by focusing on what we can build together for the future. From my perspective, there is no more important goal than a strong, united country working together in our common interests. Canada Strong means coming together in the face of external pressures. I don't want to know what people are against, but what they're for. How we can act with overwhelming force to build the best possible future, drawing on the very many resources that we're blessed with.
And more from Prime Minister Carney right here. Let's play.
Unlike many countries, we can control our future. But that will require doing things differently, moving faster, building bigger, and working together. And nowhere is that more the case than energy. Today, we're faced with the types of decisions that come once every few generations, but will determine our future for decades. Our independence, sustainability, and prosperity will depend crucially on our ability to supply and control our energy.
By the way, I want to give a hat tip to my friend Hunter Biden, who went on Canadian TV. Hunter should be the ambassador to Canada. Actually respects the Canadian people, and what a dignified interview he gave as well, right? Take a look at Hunter's interview. I'll just show you a small portion of Hunter on Canadian TV. Let's play that clip right here.
And I was thinking as I was reading through what you've posted, like if you have arrived at an analysis about why you think Donald Trump won in the first place.
I think that one of the reasons that he won this last time was that there's an enormous premium paid for dividing people. I think that we all kind of carry around in our pockets this pocket full of dopamine. It's our iPhone, and what we're led to believe through the algorithms that we're being fed is that we're an incredibly divided country. And fear sometimes travels much faster than love in the immediate, but not in the long run. And that's what he has. He's built an entire brand off of, is fear of the other, fear of each other, the belief that we're all so divided that somehow our Canadian brothers and sisters are no longer our brothers and sisters. It's very disturbing to watch. It's been very difficult. As someone that loves my country and loves the ideal of my country, the idea of it, it's really hard. But I don't believe this represents America. I really don't. More people, you can't imagine how many people that have reached out to me on social media to say, hey, I voted for Trump 3 times, but I want to encourage you and tell you how much I appreciate you speaking out. And I think that we are all far more connected in the things that we care about than in the things that we're led and told to believe that we're divided over.
And then finally, I'll play us out with Charlie Angus, the leader of Meidas Canada, has this message for Kristi Noem and for any Canadian company, mining company or otherwise, that seeks to employ or give her money to divide and go after the Indigenous people in Canada and to destroy the way of life of people in Canada. Here's what Charlie Angus has to say. Let's play it.
I raise these concerns as the economic threat to Canada continues. The Gordie Howe Bridge remains closed. The Trump regime continues to threaten and intimidate us. Kristi Noem's hatred of our country has been made clear. She has no business being involved in anything to do with our country.
There you have it all. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers and subscribe to Meidas Canada. Subscribe to Meidas Canada.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.